following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break.
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021, Season 16, Episode number 112. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Geico. And we decided to make this a fun show for the fans. We are going to take nothing but fan questions the whole show. I've already got a whole list of questions that people sent me on Twitter. If you want to join in the conversation or if you have a question, you can call us also, 888-855-2297. Again, that's 888-855-2297. We have not gotten to a phone call probably since the pandemic started because Nick usually is talking too much for us to get to fan questions. But we will get to some today, and we're going to try to get as many fan questions as we can possibly get in a 1-hour show. How's everybody feeling
Great.
today?
So good. So just wonderful.
I'm glad you guys are feeling well. Good for you guys.
I mean, we're not dealing
Someone
with
needs
this.
to be
Yeah,
feeling
we're not
well.
dealing with as much
We
as
love you, Amber. We know you're going through it. We love you. We got you. It's going to be over soon. It's going to be great.
Yes.
You're going to love it. Let's jump right in. We got lots of questions. Got a lot of questions that I've already pulled from Twitter. Again, you can call us 888-855-2297. Let's start first with a question from Victor Perez on Twitter. His question is, what do you think our biggest strength is going into training camp, and what's our biggest weakness? Let's start with the biggest strength first. What do you think is the biggest strength of this team going into training camp? Why are you laughing, Dave?
I'm because, like, you know, and no offense to Victor, I get it's just what we've talked about for a long time. It's like the central storyline of this team, I think, is
Okay, can I put something in real quick before you say it?
Yeah.
Because I think I know where you're going. You cannot say just blanket offense and defense.
okay.
You got to get a little deeper.
I got to go a little.
You got to go a little deeper.
All right.
Because if you're right, yeah, you're
'Cause
right.
That's the
If that's
answer.
going to be the answer, then that would be real easy. But you can't say just offense. You can't say defense. What's the biggest strength of this team?
The biggest strength of this team is that they have one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the league who has a tremendous amount of upside and the potential to be one of the 2 or 3 best in the league at some point in the future. And he's got a lot of weapons to work with. Like anything the Cowboys accomplish will be because of Dak Prescott, and if they fall short, it's going to fall on him. And their biggest weakness is obviously, I mean, yeah, defense is too obvious, but the back 7 specifically of the defense, I mean, there's basically nothing at safety. The cornerback depth chart looks better than it did before the draft, but is completely unproven. I mean, the guy that you feel best about, Trayvon Diggs, had an up and down rocky rookie season, and that's probably who you feel the best about. There's just not a lot in the way of proven playmakers in the secondary.
Amber.
Biggest strength, I would say the wide receiver group. I mean, they're pretty solid. We saw what they did last year, regardless of Dak being out for so long. Imagine with Dak being back in the mix and him being healthy, I think the wide receiver group can do a really good job. But also part of me almost wants to say Kellen Moore as well as a strength. I wouldn't say, because regardless of what happened last year and how things went down, I still believe that Kellen Moore has the talent to keep putting together things and making it click and making the offense work once he has all his healthy guys back into the mix. So I think it is a good positive thing that Kellen Moore is still here and that still hasn't been touched. So I do have trust that he can be a strength for this offense as well.
Nick.
I mean, I think the offense, is the strength. And so which position specifically, I mean, they're all connected. I think the receivers, I agree, the receivers are the best unit. But I think that they're aided by having Zeke and having the running game and having Dak throwing to them. So it does all kind of work together. I mean, I will say that, the best position group that I think is the wide receivers. I mean, if Cedric Wilson is your 4th guy and he's been around and made some plays, then I think that the 3 on top of him, I think that's the strength. I think the weakness, I mean, I don't want to, I mean, the weakness is your unknown. And, is it coaching? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be. I mean, because last year it wasn't very good. And so, I mean, Dan Quinn, that's great. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if that's better. I think it will be. I really think it will be. But, like, the whole thing with the pandemic and the coaching and all the virtual and all the stuff and the on the field, and I just think that they're not getting as much as you would want there. And I do blame the pandemic for some of it. But all teams are dealing with it. Now they're not all dealing with it the same. I mean, I think the new staffs are dealing with it a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't want to call it a weakness, but I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed. If it's a position, I would say corner. All
right. I'll say this. I really, and I've held true to this all last season as well. Even more so than Dak, I think the greatest advantage for this team this year is that they're getting those 2 tackles back. I think if you take away one of those tackles last year, they're probably still okay. Taking away both your 2 tackles, I don't care who you put back there at quarterback. As we saw, even in those games that Dak played, the offense was playing well, but a lot of that they had to do coming from behind because they weren't clicking from the beginning of every game. I think the tackles were the biggest problem. So getting those guys back, I think that's your biggest strength. And weakness, I think the biggest weakness is the unknown with regards to injuries. Think about this. I just made a quick list. You got Dak, Tyron, Lyle, Tristan Hill, you got LVE, you got Kazee, you got Neal. These are all guys that ended last year injured. These are all guys that are coming back that you hope or at least think.
No, Derek, no. I'm going to say no. You can't make a strength and a weakness the same. You just said the strength is the tackle.
No. The strengths are the tackles when they're healthy. Okay? Let's just put it like that.
Got it.
When they're healthy. But the weakness still is like you're betting on a lot of guys coming back from injuries last year.
Not the tackles, because they're strength.
No.
I know what you're saying.
When they're healthy.
I know.
When they're healthy.
I know.
And I think we all agree. Tyron Smith, when he's healthy, he's one of the best, 5 tackles in the league, 10 tackles in the league.
Shoot.
But you wonder if he's going to be healthy because neck and back issues don't necessarily always go away. So, yes, when he's at his best, when he's playing, when he's healthy, he's going to be really, really good. What we don't know is, was this surgery what he needed to get him back to the point where he can play a full season? We don't know that. And they're betting on it. They're betting a lot on it.
They are
laughing over here.
No, because we had a long conversation before this show about what we wanted to talk about, and we were talking about the Athletic podcast, and they did like the non-quarterback draft, like the best non-quarterbacks in the NFL. And I get what you're saying, but even if all those guys are healthy, how good are they? Not the tackles.
Well, I was going to say
not the tackles.
Dak, the tackles.
No. Yes,
we all know those.
We know
are good.
all about those 3. They are like Lyle and Tyron are among the 10 or 12 best at their position if they're healthy. Dak is top 10 at the bare minimum. But like all the guys you listed on defense, like how good are those guys? Like even if you get 17 games out of all those guys, do we know that they're good?
No, we don't. Absolutely. But what we do know is they're the best the Cowboys are going to have.
Sure.
You're not going to get better than what you got with Tristan Hill. You're not going to get a better defensive tackle you're pulling out off the waiver wire at this point, right?
Yeah.
You're probably not. LVE probably is going to play if he's healthy. What you're hoping is that he can get back to playing like he played before the injury, maybe, and then maybe you got a player here. Like there are a lot of bets here, but the first has to start with can you get them healthy? Yeah. Can you get them to play a full 17 games?
Yeah, they need to be on the field, and then there's a completely separate matter of how good they are when they're there.
I mean, you kind of like put a question like if LVE is healthy, like is he good? That's kind of what it sounded like. I mean, he wasn't all pro as a rookie. I mean, I think he's a really good player.
But there were times when he played last year when he was healthy that he didn't play great, right? So do we really know what he is?
Was that last year? Are you talking about last year?
Yeah, last year.
I think we're going to find out that last year, especially on defense, is just going to kind of get thrown out the window. I really do.
Because of the coordinator?
Because of the coordinator, plus the lack of prep time, and I think that some coaches did it better. Obviously, there were teams that did it better with this, and this one wasn't one of them. So they need to get on the field. They need it, and they need a better coordinator. Plus the field. They need preseason games. They need all that.
I actually agree with you. I think the defense will be better, much better than it was last year.
If and it's I think not, a lot of like there'll be documentaries on this defense forever. Like this, the worst defense ever thrown out.
Are you saying that's going to be Deep Blue in 2022?
Who would watch that? I mean, no offense. Sorry.
Well, people do like the train wreck. Let's be
guess.
honest. People like the train wreck.
My experience is like people want as little to do with remembering last season as possible. So like if it happens again and then we try to make a movie about it, I don't want to see
Trust
the
me, from
ratings on
somebody,
that.
from someone that tried to write a book about the 2015 season.
Yeah.
By the time the book came out, the Cowboys were 5-1. Dak and Zeke 2016. Like, I don't care about that season.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah. It wasn't on the bestseller list.
Very true. Let's go to the next question. We got a question from Adam Y. His question is, how realistic is it to actually think LVE or Smith will be traded before the season? Obviously, linebacker as a position has a lot of players there. What's the possibility? And not, by the way, let's not even limit it to those two. What's the possibility that one of these linebackers, whoever they might be, ends up traded before the season?
Okay, I love the phrasing before the season.
Yeah.
Because that means that you went through training camp in the preseason and you have a much better idea of what you're working with. I do not understand the desire to have this happen this week with either one of them, because neither one of them's worth a lot. Leighton he's missed 40% of the last 2 years. He's missed 13 games over the last 2 seasons. It's a lot. 1 year left on his deal. What are you getting for him? Day 3 pick probably? You're definitely only getting a day 3 pick for Jalen Smith with that contract and the cost that you would incur. I just can't imagine you're getting a lot of return on your investment. And so in my mind, give me the depth. We just talked about how much their depth was challenged last year. Give me the depth. But if Jabril Cox is just the ultimate badass and you feel great about it, or Micah Parsons is even better than we think he can be, and all of a sudden that doesn't look very necessary in September, that's a different conversation. And we see teams do stuff like that all the time. Like the Cowboys typically trade to acquire players at roster cuts, but if you just have a glut and you feel good about the young guys, that's a little more realistic. I still wouldn't bet on it happening, but I think it's got a better chance of happening in September than right now.
Amber.
I think I'm looking at the list, and it's just like one of those things that right now it looks like pretty packed, and all it takes is a guy going out, and then all of a sudden you start looking at it and it looks pretty thin. And, you know, I'm never opposed to something like that, like a trade like that. But I don't think I feel that comfortable doing that at this point. And it's just so hard to judge, even with the training camp and the preseason, like they've mentioned. It's so hard to judge how good a player is going to be unless you get into the real season and start playing real games. So as we know, and we do these shows at training camp and we start talking about guys and we're like, oh yeah, so-and-so looks good. And then the season starts and you're like, oh my God, what happened?
Very
so
true.
It can be very deceiving what we see during that time. But I would assume or think that these coaches have a lot better judgment of this player than any of us do outside of that room. So I wouldn't be opposed to it if they think that's the right idea. I don't think it's going to happen, though. And at the end of the day, I think I would just be okay with keeping everyone in this year. Like I've said before, I don't mind sitting someone on the bench just for a little bit, but that's a different story.
I think we move to another question. I mean, I think they've answered it fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I mean, I like the depth. I like the depth right now. I mean, because what you're going to get in it right now, you would probably get in a comp pick. I think you have a better chance of getting Pro Bowl and All Pro players that you've had to try to get back to that level with a coach like Dan Quinn.
I think people get so paranoid about getting burned in the future that they try to like sever those ties in the present. Michael Gallup's the same thing. Like people are so terrified of losing him to another team in the future that they'd rather get rid of him before they need to. And it's
Isn't
just
that how it goes in dating sometimes too? Like people are so afraid of getting broken up with that they just sabotage the relationship.
That's a good point.
So they don't have to get to that point.
Well, it's a whole get you before you get me.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's just in everything, really. Yeah. So
and I mean, it's a great, like, you know, let's say Leighton's just decent and he signs somewhere else next year and you get like a 4th round pick for him in 23. I mean, you got to wait a little bit longer for it, but you get the same thing you would get right now, but he's still capable of helping you right now in the present. And I just think that's more valuable.
But also fans don't want to see Anthony Hitchens in any more Super Bowls, you know? And even though that was a guy that nobody was really that worried about him leaving,
I am the president of the Anthony Hitchens fan club, but that is a situation that the Cowboys handled perfectly. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. 4th round pick, far exceeded his expectations, got paid way more than I would have felt comfortable paying him here, went to a better team. Like, Anthony Hitchens isn't the reason the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl.
It's not Hitchens,
So he's a solid
Chiefs.
linebacker.
It sucks to see a guy that you drafted winning Super Bowls with somebody else, but like, it's like, nobody in Kansas City's like, it all changed when we got Hitch. Like, that's just, come on, stop. No offense to Anthony, but let's be real.
Well, what sucks is, like, you got to look at the whole component as a whole. Like, there are so many players that we've seen being here with the Cowboys, and everyone criticizes, like, the fans, they don't like it, blah, blah. Oh, free agency, it's going to cost too much, they can leave. Then they go to another team, and then you see them having some kind of success and being successful, and then it's like, I don't want to criticize the Cowboys because I'm all Cowboys, but it just sucks sometimes when you see someone that wasn't even really that good here, but then they go somewhere else and then they start thriving over there. It's like, man, what are we not doing right on this end?
The one thing I would be careful with that is I think we may fall prey sometimes to, with the Cowboys, we watch them every single play of every single practice of every single game, the whole nine. And so we see all the warts, and then they go somewhere else and we only catch them on highlights. I think Jeff Heath is a good example of that. We saw some highlights from him last year. People were like, oh, Jeff Heath, like, but Jeff Heath probably did the same thing there as he did here. He made plays here.
Got cut.
It was all the stuff. It was all the stuff that was happening when he wasn't making plays. That was the reason he wasn't here anymore. And like you said, he's no longer with Oakland. Las Vegas.
Yeah, and when you watch these guys, Hitchens or Damian Wilson or whatever, you're watching them in the playoffs when the Cowboys aren't there, and you're like, you think it's not that they're the ones taking them over the top, but I mean, there are some cases for that, especially then when you go back to the current linebacker spot, and you're like, maybe they should have just kept him instead of signing.
I don't have a problem with the way they played.
I don't
that.
either.
Like, Anthony Hitchens got paid a lot. Now, there are cases that you can criticize for sure. I mean, if you want to open the Byron Jones Pandora's box like that, that's a premium position where you have to pay for production. And I don't think Byron got his just due because he didn't get interceptions, but he certainly seems to be part of Miami's defense becoming a strength of that team. And it helps that he's got Xavier Howard across from. Like, I get it. Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts, but like, that is a situation where I'm like, well, yeah, maybe the Cowboys should have ponied up and paid Byron instead of an off-ball linebacker and a running back. Like,
and how much better is Diggs if he's got Byron on the other side?
Absolutely.
Like, you can start playing that game, and then you start really wondering, like, how much better are you off?
They don't
how
draft
much better
Diggs.
off are you if you had him?
They probably don't.
You don't think they do?
Nah.
I mean, they still were going to be down on linebackers, right?
They don't draft Diggs, though, if they have Byron Jones, I don't think. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Who knows? But they don't go in. I guarantee they don't go into this draft like, we got to get a corner. We got to get a corner that's rated higher than the linebacker we have because we got to get him. And then we'll just take this corner in the second round that, he's got some issues, but he's got talent, so let's go for it, Yeah.
Did he have really? It seemed like he had really long arms. Just looking at him, I'm thinking about, is he a Dan Quinn kind of guy?
Who, Joseph?
No, Byron.
Oh, Byron.
Oh yeah.
It seemed like he had long arms. Yeah, right. Seems like he would be a Dan Quinn kind of guy.
I want to say Byron. I hate that I know this, but I think he had 31-inch arms. I think. He had long.
Just know that off the top of your head.
And it's good
weird.
stuff.
I know. I'm actually applauding you.
Like, on top of that, my lasting mental image of Byron Jones for the rest of my life is just going to be the way that he used to reach over to DB and just kind of poke the ball away. And you can't do that without.
He has really shot. Yeah. And so that's why I was thinking about it from that standpoint. Like, he might have been a guy that, had Dan Quinn been here a couple years earlier, maybe they don't get rid of him. Maybe he's like, this is the kind of guy we want. Like, he has value.
Chris Richard was a Seattle disciple as well, and he was the one that was like, this guy needs to be playing cornerback. So I think that makes sense.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we got so many more questions. We're going to get through some of these questions. You can join the conversation. You can call us 888-855-2297. Again, 888-855-2297. With that, when we come right back, this is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit AT&T.com for details.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Cooler weather makes it easier to work outdoors, and we can make it even easier. With our Buckaroo package that features a 3025E 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, box blade, and a trailer for $295 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. What could be easier?
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar, and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere, and a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Joins Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now. Get your exclusive fan pack, access to discounts on Pro Shop gear, and more member benefits. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by Geico. We're answering fan questions today. We got a lot to roll through here. We're going to keep it rolling. We got a question here from Nicholas Gansel. He says, how much of an upgrade is a healthy Kazee over our past free safeties?
It's a great question, and it's one of the more intriguing storylines about the defense, because like on paper, the answer is should be a lot better.
Healthy.
If he's healthy. I mean, I don't remember the last time the Cowboys employed a safety who had a 7 interception season. I mean, that's a lot. Clinton Dix, no way.
You weren't alive.
Yeah, seriously. I mean,
1985, I believe.
Wow. Really?
7 interceptions from a safety? Yeah.
Which
85.
7.
That's a lot, too.
7 that's an outlier. Like, I mean, there aren't a lot of guys that get that many in a season. But the point being, like, he's got the coverage ability and the ball skills that we haven't seen here a lot. The problem is, like, Amber, how many times are we going to fall into this trap? And like, I met DeMonte Kazee last week, and he's a super nice guy. I'm definitely pulling for him, but like, I've been down this road before.
So what gives you pause? I mean, obviously you talked about what the positive is. What gives you pause on him, other than the injury?
I don't need anything else. It's an Achilles injury. It's like medicine has made so much progress, but that is still a tricky thing. Barry Church even talked about it. I thought that was super interesting, the way that Barry talked about, he did the same thing early in his Cowboys career, and his first year back, he was like, it just feels weird, like learning to trust it again and like relying on it the way that you need to. It's difficult. And then the other thing, look at what they gave Kazee. Like, follow the money always, and it's a tiny deal. Like, I think it's like $100,000 in guarantees. That is nothing. And whenever, like, if the guarantees are that small, it just gives me pause. I'm like, okay, like they're not super confident that this is going to work out, or they would have given him more money.
And if it does work out, we'll be here in a year wondering what they're going to do in free agency because they let him go. I mean, he did a bet on myself type of deal, and so it's not like this is a fix. It might be good.
Well, Cowboys could always resign him if he has a great year.
Yeah, they could definitely resign him, but an upgrade over what they had. Yeah, I mean, he's a big upgrade if he's healthy, because Xavier Woods, he didn't make any plays.
Yeah,
he just didn't. I mean, he was out there and he ran around and he did some things. Okay, I don't remember them, but I mean, he did enough to start. I'm not nice guy and all that, but I mean, he never made a play.
Over the course of the time he was here, I can think of a few. Like most of them were like hard hits, really.
Yeah.
He had I think he demolished somebody in that Saints game in 2018. It was a big tone-setting play. But I agree with you for the most part. I can think of more dropped interceptions than anything.
Yeah.
He had 3 or 4 of those.
Mm-hmm. So this is a big upgrade. If he's healthy, he's a big upgrade.
The if does so much work in that sentence.
Yeah.
That's the freaking frustrating part, that when it comes to safety, there's always a question mark. There are multiple question marks. And even when you get a guy like this, that you've heard of his history and what he's been able and capable of doing in the past, there's still question marks around it, and you still don't know what you're actually gonna get. And to be honest, and this is gonna be dumb because most people know about Darren Woodson, most Cowboys fans. Me, I knew the name. I knew he played for the Cowboys. I didn't know much about him or anything. So my appreciation and idea of what I want in a safety has changed very much after learning more about Darren Woodson. And Nick and Rob Phillips, they're working on a Deep Blue documentary on him, which I think is going to be really good, and it's coming out soon. But that has gotten me to learn more about what the safety position can be for the Cowboys and what it's not. So if I was upset about the safety before learning so much about Darren Woodson, I am more upset about it now based on the things that I've seen. And and it's not fair necessarily to compare players, but you can.
It's kind of fair.
Well, I guess so.
I think it's kind of fair.
But it's not even close. It's not even close to that level. And it's just frustrating when you see years after year that the Cowboys haven't necessarily put the amount of attention on that kind of need, even though this year they talked about it over and over, we know we need a safety, and they're always saying, at least this year, that they've been trying, but it just hasn't quite worked out and all that. But at the same time, it's just get someone that's healthy, that has some history, that you can have some kind of trust, or, man, it's just really frustrating.
The funny thing is, and I know, the staff has changed, and we're seeing different trends, right? Like they drafted Quentin Bohanna. They haven't valued one technique for a long time, but it seems like maybe that's changing. But what's funny to me is most of the time I've worked here, they haven't valued one technique, defensive tackle. But it kind of makes sense because they've found production there without, they've sort of been right. Not really, but Terrell McClain, they got good use out of him. Antoine Woods, for an undrafted guy that they plucked off the scrap heap, they got great value out of that. They treat safety the same way, and it bites them in the ass every year, and they don't change their mind. Whether, way back when I first got here, it was Will Allen. He made it 5 weeks into the season. Clinton Dix didn't make it out of training camp. They don't spend and they don't get production out of it, but they don't change their mind about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think the thing that you also have to remember here is the difference between those two positions. The one technique has over the years gotten less important.
Right.
It is a 2-down play, if that, in the NFL at this point, where you're talking about safety, where in a passing league it's gotten more important. So you would think they'd be giving more resources to trying to find the right free safety, even if they weren't putting those resources in a one technique. But it doesn't seem like those, for whatever reason, it's not working. And whatever they're doing is not working. It hasn't worked.
It's frustrating and borderline terrifying. If DeMonte Kazee is healthy and is playing like a beast, then they're going to look really smart. If he's not, they signed Jaron Kearse, who has 9 career starts. I actually wrote about him today. He's got a big opportunity here, but the point is he hasn't done it consistently in the NFL. Israel Makwamu's a 6th-round pick. And Donovan Wilson is showing a lot of promise. I'm sure there are people that are mad that we're just now mentioning him. But, third-year player, showed a lot of promise. We would all agree, coverage has not been what has made him flash.
He's more of a strong to me. Yeah. That's where he's
a box safety. Yeah. As far as I have seen to this point in his career, maybe he can continue to develop, but we don't know that. And so it's not a lot to go on, man. It's really not.
Give me a quick update on Makwamu, because we had a question from Eastside Sammy. He was asking the same. He was like, what's up with him? He said he heard some good things from Barry Church talking about him from the opening OTA, from the rookie mini camp. Haven't heard really much about him since then.
Well, I mean, I know Bucky Brooks, who studies all the entire draft. He has him as one of his favorite picks from the Cowboys as well. As a corner, he played corner opposite J.C. Horn at South Carolina, and so he told Jerry Jones he's going to be the best corner in the draft. And then they called him like an hour later and said, we're actually moving you to safety. And he was like, I'm going to be the best safety in the draft. That's his confidence. But he's got length, he's tall. And, if he's got skills to play corner, everyone always thinks if you're a little bit slower to play corner, you just play safety. That's not necessarily the key. You got to be able to be tough. You got to be able to tackle. You got to have awareness and instincts. So I think he can do all that, but when just out here and looking, I mean, he looks the part because he's got range. He can cover. We'll see how tough he is when the pads come on and you start having to get up there and make the plays.
I'll throw this in there too because people have asked about it. Reggie Robinson was playing corner at the open OTA last week. It seems like he's been moved back and forth like 6 times at this point, but he was playing corner, and I haven't seen or heard anything that suggests Jordan Lewis is dabbling at safety. I know a lot of people have mentioned that. I see no evidence that that's a thing right now.
He's your best slot, right?
Yeah.
Or is Anthony Brown better than him, you think, at slot?
I would probably take Jordan.
I think Jordan's a better slot.
So, but a lot like people love doing that. Like when the depth chart gets crowded, they're like, "Oh, maybe this guy can play corner or safety." I haven't seen it. I don't think that's happening.
All right, let's move on to the next question. This one is from Joe T. He says, "What's the confidence level that our defensive line can keep blockers off our linebackers this year?"
Not high.
Pause.
It's not a high confidence level. I mean, that's
by the pause. That tells you a lot, right?
Yeah. I mean that was a big issue last year, and what has really changed?
Bohanna.
Yeah, but
okay. I knew that was going to get a laugh over there. That's why I threw it out there.
Bohanna, and yeah, that's great. But we'll see. I mean, I want to know what is the reason for the first 5.5 rounds of him getting passed, he looks the part and all that, but is he going to play 7 plays and tap his helmet? I don't know. What is the thing with him? I don't know.
Why do you think they would have let Antoine Woods go if they didn't think Bohanna is going to be playing at least that kind of role for them?
$1.7 million difference.
Is that really a huge difference?
Yeah, for this year it is.
Yeah.
For this year, that is a huge difference. They are counting dollars.
Also, but
if they didn't have a replacement, though, I get 1.7 is
when did they
money,
cut Antoine?
Like 2 days after the draft.
Yeah, I mean, that just to me, it just kind of signaled they think. Now, again, he may not be able to. It signaled to me they think they got options. And you talk about Urban being an option as well. To me, it just said they think they got options.
Well, and don't forget. I mean, I get it. Bohanna fills a specific role. They drafted 2 tackles and a third guy that can play tackle in Golston. So it's just a numbers game. I think they're like, we got. Three guys that probably add up to cost what Antoine costs.
Exactly.
And they're just like, this is a place we think we can save.
You just got to hope guys are better. You hope that, that Neville Gallimore comes in a second year and he's better. Tristan Hill was actually coming on pretty good last year. And if he makes this recovery from his injury, you got Gallimore, you got Tristan Hill, you got Osa Odigizua, you got Bohanna, Golston slides in there. Urban slides in there. I mean, Urban is in there.
It's fun.
You hope that they're better.
It's funny because you guys talked about this in the first segment. Defense is so wildly unpredictable. Like you see it every year. It shifts. It's not sustainable. Turnover differential is a big part of it. And you see teams move around a lot. And unless you're like a Seattle type defense that just has Hall of Fame talent everywhere, there's a lot of fluctuation. So there's plenty of optimism that this can be a much better unit. But how in June can I say that I'm confident about them doing anything, really? I mean, I like the Brent Urban signing a lot, but again, we're talking about that this is the way the Cowboys have done this for a few years now, and it really hasn't paid a ton of dividends.
What about Watkins? What is he?
Carlos? Yeah, I mean he's played defensive tackle in his career. That's kind of what they're doing with him right now, playing.
Always forget about him.
Well, because you see the size of the deal and you're like, okay, they can cut this guy in August if they want to. Mm-hmm. And that goes for all of these guys. Yeah. So easy to be optimistic, but hard to feel confident. That's how I feel.
Question from Christopher Trout. He says, what is the likelihood of any more free agent additions before or during training camp? And he throws out Malik Hooker, safety, I think from the Colts, as a possibility. In the event that, let's say, for example, Kazee, they don't think he's quite ready or they think they need a little more help at safety. What do you think about Hooker or any other free agents out there?
Didn't he have
Hooker comes with injury.
Achilles,
and that's not all. I mean, he had injury concerns coming out of college. That's why he didn't get drafted as high.
I think he's had an MCL and an ACL on one knee, and then a meniscus on the other knee, and then the Achilles. So,
and he came in the same week that Kazee did. They brought him both in and looked at him, and I think they felt better about Kazee's prospects. So. I don't think you should never say never, especially if it's a guy that they've brought. They liked him enough to bring him in, but I think something would have to change for them to want to do that.
I think the answer to that if would be a quarterback.
Yeah,
I think that's the best option for.
But didn't we all say last week? I just want to say, I think last week we all agreed that we were good with where they are right now, quarterback. Right?
We are good. I'm answering the question for them.
McCarthy keeps talking about it and wanting to add depth at the position, and clear, they haven't found the right guy that they are looking for. But they brought in two guys?
Yeah. I'm laughing because, never mind. It was funny.
No,
I can't go there.
Like that.
I forgot where we are and what day it is and all that. Nah, I'm good. I'll tell you in the break.
Okay.
I do have confidence in Gary Gilbert.
Yeah.
But I think when watching him sometimes you think that he's you think, oh man, he's good, he's ready to go. If that's what he was, if that was the floor against Pittsburgh, he'll be fine. But he's a journeyman, and I'm sure you can get better. You can get guys that are better, but I think I'm okay with him. Honestly.
See, I don't know if you're going to find better than him out on the street.
You're going to find more experience. You may not find better than him.
Keep in mind, we're fixated on June 1 for all of our own things, but that's every team in the league. Like you can, salary cap. The rules allow teams to do stuff that they couldn't have done before. Yeah. So everybody's talking about Julio Jones and Aaron Rodgers, but we'll see. Some teams are going to tinker with their rosters now. Chicago's got to do something with Nick Foles. Right? I mean, they have Dalton and they just drafted Fields, and Foles is on a huge contract.
You would think, yeah.
Something feels like it's got to
get there.
there.
That to me might be an upgrade if you're talking about bringing him in as your backup. I think that might be an upgrade.
Absolutely. So, even knowing that he didn't play well in Chicago, I would feel better about that. But are you going to trade for that contract? Probably not. He would probably need to be cut first. And I'm not trying to start rumors. I haven't heard anything about that. But guys like that, we're going to see teams shed that salary and kind of tinker with their rosters. So maybe in late June or July.
Would that be? How ironic would that be if Nick Foles comes here to be the backup to Dak Prescott? And I know he's on another team right now, but wasn't it Nick Foles when Tony Romo got hurt that they were like, we got to get a veteran in here. We got to get somebody.
And
like,
everybody
get Foles. Get Foles.
Right.
And then it's like, well.
Feels like a
and they were like, we're good. What the quote? We're good here?
We're good there? We're good here. Yeah. We'll see what we got with Dak and all that. And
then
that is. I didn't even think about that, but that would be ironic.
He signed in Philadelphia.
Let's not forget he's won a Super Bowl. In the middle of that.
He signed in Philadelphia after Dallas was like, we're good. And I hadn't thought about that.
There is a ha-ha for everybody.
Beast, man. It really is.
But and again, I bet the people upstairs would laugh at us if we brought up Foles because they laugh at us when we suggest everything. But there's going to be players available later this summer that aren't available right now.
They laughed when you said we needed a better receiver in 2018, better than this.
They didn't laugh halfway through the season.
That's what I'm saying. They laughed and they're like, "We're good. We got Deontay Thompson."
That's midway through the season. I think everybody was agreeing on that one.
It's a bad idea until they decide it's a good idea. That's what I always say. We're stupid until they have the idea, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Glad we thought of it." Like, okay, cool, thanks.
All right, real quick, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. We're going to come back. We're going to have a few more questions we want to get to. We'll try to get to those. You can also call us 888-855-2297. We'll be right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
Uh-oh. I'm back. Email notifications. Stay in the know on all things Dallas Cowboys. Sign up for email notifications. We'll start over again because I don't think you heard me. Stay in the know on all things Dallas Cowboys. Sign up for email notifications for exclusive offers, Cowboys events, and so much more. Sign up via email at dallascowboys.com/subscribe.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Geico. And it's very clear it is time for a vacation for you guys because we're getting just to that point where it's just wheels off in this room. So, but this is going to be the next to last show. Next week will be the last show that we will have all the way until training camp. So, and Amber, I don't know. Your next show will probably be sometime in, I don't know, maybe September, October, November, something like
Who
that.
knows?
Who knows? We'll see how it all goes. But
I might call in.
Oh, good.
We don't have anyone calling in right now, so I might call in.
What's going on? I thought the phones would be off the hook.
Yeah, no. I think people are just like, they'll catch
Fans
it.
are like, I don't care.
Yeah, they'll catch it later. They're not catching it live. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
One day, y'all will believe me that most people don't listen to podcasts live.
We know this, Dave. I see the numbers. So
All right, well,
I know.
well, you're the one that acts surprised all the time.
No, I know. It's yeah, our numbers come on demand. It's good. It's fine. And by the way, if you're listening on demand, shout out to you. We appreciate you, checking us out on demand.
They all count.
They absolutely do. All right, so we get back to these questions that we got from the fans. We got one from Hypotency? I don't know. It's a name made up on Twitter. And here was his question. How much will it hurt this young team to have the extra time on field leading up to and by playing in the Hall of Fame game versus now playing 17 games schedule?
So I was feeling really positive about what you were saying because I was like, of course it's going to help to have OTAs and like all this install. I mean, that stuff does matter. I don't let the Cowboys off the hook for how bad they were last year because a lot of good teams didn't have OTAs and still had good seasons.
And some that had new coaches.
Yeah.
Just throw that out. Yeah.
Cleveland comes to mind. Yeah. Anyway, but then the second part of that, I don't feel good about it at all. Like we were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah. You think it hurts them?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I mean, this is common knowledge among NFL fans, but like teams that play in the Hall of Fame game don't have a great postseason history. And I don't think it's a coincidence. Like you're reporting to camp basically 2.5, 3 weeks earlier than everybody else.
No, this year's only a week.
Well, that's better. It's an extra preseason game. Even with the shortened preseason, it's less preseason time. And I know the starters aren't doing all that, but the point is that is a slog from July. We're probably leaving for California on like the 18th.
Guessing like the third week of
July 18th until January 9th. And then if you're good enough to be in the playoffs, that's another. I mean, that is a lot.
Super Bowl is second weekend in February.
That is a
long time.
That is a slog. And I get it. You want time on task, but It's a lot to expect people's bodies to hold up over that much
and more
work.
importantly, to stay mentally engaged.
Yeah.
That's the hard part when you go through a long NFL season, is to keep yourself mentally engaged the whole time and not allow yourself to be distracted by all the things that can distract a player during a season.
Yeah, the only thing that I think this year is a little bit different, and I agree. I mean, if you do something for that long for the Hall of Fame game and no one's having any success, I think there may be something to that. But I do think there's a lot of players, guys that are on the roster, that still haven't played a lot of football because there was no preseason last year. So that's the only thing about getting another game that I think, I'd like to see that. I think of a guy like Rico Dowdle, made the team last year. We'll see if he makes it again this year, but he hasn't had that time to even run the ball a lot and be the guy. I mean, he will this year in preseason. Yeah. He'll be the guy probably starting some games, but because I don't think Pollard will play a lot either. But I just think there are players. There's even the Terrence Steeles of the world. His first game was against the Rams and those guys on Sunday Night Football. I mean, I'd like to see him play a little bit more against competition, from a confidence standpoint and all that. So
that is a really good point. And yeah, they leaned on a lot of young guys who didn't get a lot of reps before the season started last year. And which I say this every year, but this year probably even more so. Like, get those starters out of the preseason games. Like
they would play. For me, my starters would play two preseason games this year. The second and the third. That's it.
How about?
I'm only talking part of those games.
How about two preseason series? Like, I mean,
hey, I think you got to do some. I think you got to get them some work, but it's only two games. I'm even really dressing them with the intent that they're going to play at all. That first game and that last game, I would not have them out there at all.
I don't care. I don't know if the NFL would come in, with the uniform policy, but I'm putting Dak out in a red jersey just to see what happens. So just be like, he's going to wear red, guys. I don't care.
Find me.
Right. That would probably only put a bullseye on them even more. But
But the other thing I would do if I were Mike McCarthy this year, you got that 2 weeks now between your final preseason game and the opening game. That first week, not the week of the game, but that first week, I would probably give these guys a day, maybe 2 days off. Get them out of here, let them relax, let them mentally unwind from training camp, and then come back refreshed and ready to go. I think that would be a good thing because, again, for me, it's more of the totality of staying engaged that whole time. You got to find those moments when you can give players an opportunity to mentally disengage.
Well, I feel like, I was just going to say, I feel like when you look at the roster, to me personally, there are so many new names, so many names that you're like, okay, who is this guy? It looks so different than years before. You're getting to know these players now. And a lot of these games, even the guys that would play in that game are guys that are going to be in the back, in the bottom part of the depth chart anyways. And to me, you take that, let them go for us, it's going to be boring to watch probably, but it's a crucial game, and I think it's definitely needed for these guys. And you talk about keeping up or staying engaged and lasting through a whole season or whatever. You got to remember that most of these guys, hopefully, you won't need them during the real game, so their bodies are not having to go through that kind of battle that you go through during a game day. So they're staying kind of fresh. They're just having to practice during the week, and then if you come to use them, I don't know if that logic, to me, makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. In the preseason, even if they're not playing much in the games, they still got practices throughout the week. So, again, they're still having to be mentally engaged throughout the week. I think it's a good idea to find moments in a long season where you can tell your team literally, get away for a second. Okay. Take a day. Don't be around football for a day and just enjoy.
And that can still happen. But I'm going to tell you this. America's team is all great. Cowboy fans love it. But the Cowboys, I'm sorry, they got screwed by the NFL this year with the schedule. This is, I don't think this is a good advantage for them at all. If you're going to put them in the Hall of Fame game, which means they have to start practice, do all that. Most teams with this extra week that you're talking about, they're not going to some space camp here. They're done on. They have a Sunday game. When have you ever seen that? They have a Sunday game on August 29th to accommodate the NFL, Tebow, and to play Jacksonville and all this. On the 29th, a noon Sunday preseason game, and then they they get 10 days off before their game again, Thursday night against the Bucs. Everybody else is probably going to play a Saturday game on preseason, and they'll play on Sunday.
Maybe as early as Thursday, right? Don't they play Thursday,
could.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Most teams are going to get 15 days between the last game, this one, and the Cowboys get 10. That's
a good point. I didn't think about that.
That is not. I mean, that's not a fair situation. It really isn't. Especially when you saw the email come through or something that says the Bucs, the Cowboys, and the Steelers will all get to start training camp a week early. Mm-hmm. I don't understand this, but the Steelers and Cowboys because they play in the Hall of Fame.
Why
the Bucs because they play on Thursday to open the season. Also, the Cowboys do as well. It's like, what?
Which is why maybe this is petty.
That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense.
Maybe this is petty on my part, but the Cowboys are in the Hall of Fame game because they're a draw. I mean, I know they have guys going into the Hall of Fame, but they're a draw, and they'll be on national TV to end the preseason because they're a draw. And I just hope that nobody important plays in either game. Get them all out of there. Sorry, NFL. Sorry that you're not getting what you want out of this, but I don't give a damn. Yeah. Anybody that matters to the success of my season is going to do next to nothing in those games.
I hope Sunflower is a sponsor because every time you show Dak, he's going to be.
They're
not. So stop.
I'm dead serious.
Dang it.
I wouldn't give anybody important more than 3 or 4 series max across this entire preseason.
Let's meet the Cowboys starting lineup.
Can't wait.
Garrett Gilbert. SMU, Rico Dowdle,
football's
South Carolina.
back, everybody, and it's
Sean McEwen, Michigan.
Steele, I hope it happens.
I want to see that. I actually want to see that. That would be awesome.
Well, all right, at least they might get. Well, never mind, because Jason Garrett is not here anymore. Who knows how Mike McCarthy? I was gonna say at training camp, beach day, movie night, bowling night.
What are you talking about? We got Watermelon King over here. We'll be throwing watermelons around, smashing them.
And McCarthy, I know COVID was part of it, but he was pretty good about, giving them separating life from football. I'm sure he'll come up with something.
Hey, I heard a story the other day about Jimmy Johnson, and I'll say this because Jimmy Johnson, everybody loves Jimmy. I mean, that was when the Cowboys were winning. That was the toughest, all that. Jimmy Johnson, every single season, I don't know about the Cowboys, but when he was at Miami, when he was at college, he took his team one day to the beach or to the pool. And just when they felt like they really needed it, So I think coaches have a sense of doing that, but I don't know if the beach for the Cowboys was the thing, all the time. It got to the point where you were trying to surprise them, but it's like there's 9 buses out there that are running, I don't know.
We're going somewhere.
Yeah, the lifts aren't even up in the air. Those
Garrett
lifts,
used to always think he was going to catch those guys off guard. And just bro,
you remember?
How hard it is to move a 90-man roster anywhere? People are going to know.
You remember the day? I think we were all here. I think 15 maybe. You remember the day when they were going to leave
camp early?
One day early.
Yes.
And it was the biggest, you're going to get fired if you tell anyone. Everyone was the worst kept secret because the time they said, guys, we're actually going to go to the airport and we're going to leave. It told the whole team, and the team was like, woo.
Yeah. Everybody was
everybody knew. By that point, everybody knew.
You can't tell anyone as we're packing our suitcases in plain sight. Yeah.
Brad Sham, I think, didn't know. I think it was Brad Sham.
So Brad was over there
yeah, I think Brad was a little mad. Yeah, he was a little mad, but he got over it.
All right, I do want to try to get to 2 more questions here before we end the show. The first of those questions is the position battle you're most intrigued to watch this training camp, and then I want you to predict how you think it's going to play out.
Oh, man, that's a good one. How could it be anywhere but the defensive side of the ball? I mean, take your pick.
Give me one.
Okay, all right.
Don't take everybody. Give me one.
Because mine's on offense. So.
Okay, good.
All right. All right. It's really all of them, but I'll just stick true to my brand. And, safety, I guess. Just Kazee, Jaron Kearse, what's his role in that whole thing? I feel good that Donovan Wilson will have one of the starting spots, but I don't think it's a guarantee. And then, throw Makwamu. Don't forget about Darian Thompson. Yeah, there's just I don't know what that's going to look like.
So predict the outcome.
Donovan Wilson and DeMonte Kazee. If he's healthy enough to be doing what he's doing right now, then that bodes well.
Amber.
I don't know. Well, I've been intrigued this whole offseason about the linebacker position, and we talked about it. And I don't know how much of an actual position battle, because I think that you got your guys who are pretty set, and okay, these are the guys who are expected to be. But it does bring me a lot of curiosity as to what would happen a couple of weeks into the season and how those guys are actually playing, and if whether or not, okay, do you take out now Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith and put in some of these guys in as starters and change that up? I mean, I think that at the end of the day, all of them are going to get to play one way or another, but it does, I am very curious of just how that whole group is going to turn out level-wise. Not necessarily position battle, but just how that whole group is going to end up being. But I wouldn't put it past anyone. I don't even know if I'm using that saying right or properly, but I wouldn't think that they will stick to Leighton and Jalen just because of who they are and their position or their contract, Jalen's contract or any of that. I think that maybe this year they've recapacitated in their head after what happened at the tackle position or whatever last year in the offensive line. I think maybe the pride goes to the side and they will make wiser choices if they see it fit and needed and is someone that has earned that spot to go in rather than
the key part to that is they're not bound to either one of those guys beyond this year. And so they can be a little more flexible, right, in how they evaluate and who they decide they're going to let play. In other years where they may have been like, hey, we still got another couple of years where we got to keep them from the standpoint of money, like that may help them make that decision to keep them in there. But they're not tied to anybody at this point, the linebacker position, other than Parsons, I think. Everybody else, who knows what happens with them. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, mine's the center position. I think that, I don't know how that's going to work out. But, when you think about who the front runner is, the front runner is a fifth-round pick entering his second year. He's only played a few games in Tyler Biadasz. And, I think that he can't be that far ahead of Matt Farniok or even Connor McGovern. And I still think there's a guy on the street that we all know that they could bring back as well. So in Joe Looney or any other veteran for that matter. So my prediction is your starting center is not on the roster right now.
Okay.
Safety was a bad answer. I'm not going to do the whole but defensive tackle is probably the position that you would have the hardest time projecting right now.
Yeah.
Tristan Hill's not even practicing. Osa Odigizua was drafted higher than Neville Gallimore was, so they clearly like him a lot. What's Brent Urban going to do? I mean, future Hall of Famer Quentin Bohanna's here, so who the hell knows what's going to happen there? Yeah.
All right. I'll throw out. And I thought for sure one of you guys are going to take this one, especially since Dave took two.
Sorry.
But the fact that nobody mentioned cornerback, which to me is the most intriguing, because if you look at whoever you think is the best of that group, and you look at, not necessarily the worst, but let's go 5, 6 on the depth chart. What's the difference between those players as far as what we know right now? I don't know if there's a really big delta between them, so I don't know how.
Who am I missing? I thought it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then.
Wait, listen to this. You got Anthony Brown, obviously. You got Trayvon Diggs. You got Jordan Lewis. Then you get into the draft picks where you got Kelvin Joseph and you've got Nashawn Wright. Okay. You've got Rashad Robinson from last year if they're going to keep him at. If you're going to keep him at cornerback. I'm sorry, Reggie Robinson. If they're going to keep him at cornerback. A lot of people still forget. I kind of forget about him, but does Maurice Kennedy play into this? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. They got him last year. He opted out. Maybe he's a guy that shows up at camp, and he's a veteran. Maybe shows up at camp, and he's better than these other veterans, right? All I'm saying is there are enough guys that are kind of just in that middle area. I don't know that any of them stand out to me as, this guy's so much better than everybody else.
The only guy that's a sure given, Diggs is going to make the team, and Joseph, all that, but... you didn't even mention one cornerback that's going to make the team, C.J. Goodwin.
Well, I don't think of him as cornerback.
I know.
He is by far the best special teams player on this team, maybe in the league, in my opinion.
Kennedy as a corner, because I think if Kennedy could be better than Goodwin at special teams, he could. That's why they got him.
I think
Goodwin is an
ace. This guy's really good.
I think of Kennedy in the same vein as Goodwin, to be honest.
Okay.
We'll see though.
Can you keep two of those?
Maybe.
One of them's got to be able to play in a pinch at corner. And actually, Goodwin did it last year. If you think about it, he actually had a role in one of those games.
Yeah, he was basically. Was it
the Hurts? Was it the spy?
Yeah. He was I was going to say he spied somebody. I hope it wasn't Lamar because it didn't work.
No, that didn't work.
That would have been a bad idea.
No, it was. Yeah, it was Hurts. It was Jalen Hurts.
All right, real quick. This is how we're going to end the show. I want you guys to tell me what is a realistic win total for this team in 2021.
8.
So
that
they have a
didn't
losing
even
record.
go up because we got 17 games.
They got a losing record if they win 8 games.
What's realistic?
Realistic win total.
Don't look at me.
I don't know. I'm just. I mean, what's realistic? I mean, with this, I don't know. I would say, I think 10 is realistic. I really do. I think the guys that they lost. Can you be 4 games better than what you had last year? 4 games better. That's tough to do, but the guys that you lost and how much you lean on those 3 players, the quarterback and your 2 tackles, I think you can be 4 games better. They have, on paper, the second easiest schedule in the NFL.
Which is kind of wild, like when you look at it. It just doesn't seem like it should be true, but they ran the numbers and it is. So
yeah, I look at the schedule and I'm like, that's a tough schedule, but
yeah.
Go ahead, Amber.
I know.
Man, sorry, I don't mean to take long, but I could possibly see 10, just like I could see 8. That's a safe answer. That's definitely a safe answer. But Nick made a good point about the guys that they're getting back, and based on what happened last year and kind of how they played, with having those guys back in, you should be better. You should be able to win more games than you did last year. So I have full trust that Ezekiel Elliott will be a better player this year, and he will help the offense and make it more balanced on both in the running game and then the passing game with Dak Prescott being back in. So I would say, yeah, I'm going to copy your answer and go with something like 10.
And 10 and 7, it just doesn't seem. It's not as great. Obviously,
it's not as great as 10 and 6.
No,
right?
10 and 6,
yeah.
but 10 and 7, just like
it's going to take us a while to adjust to that.
Yeah, mentally.
And by the time they do the NFL's not keeping this.
No, it'll be 18.
There's no way you can't keep an odd number. Nobody does this. Nobody has odd numbers in your schedule.
It'll be 18 and 2 within the next few years. 2 preseason games.
2 preseason.
Yeah.
Is it cheating to just say I expect them to win the division and like the win total doesn't matter? That's cheating?
That's cheating.
Okay, well, all right.
But thanks for that bonus answer.
I expect them to win the division. It's a bad division. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they are an elite NFL team, but I think they're a good NFL team. And I think that the NFC East is the worst division in football. So, if Dak's worth the money and all of these guys coming back from injuries are as good as we think they are, they should be good enough to.
You think it'll continue to be the worst division in football? Because I look across, like, it wasn't just the Cowboys. The Giants lost their best player as well. Like,
I think all of these teams have a case to improve. And I, again, defense is hard to predict, and that's the strength of Washington. So
Washington got better on offense, too.
They did. But I don't. What am I trying to say? Yes, I do think it'll get better. I still think it is among the 2 or 3 worst. I mean, the AFC South looks like a wreck for sure. But I think the NFC East is in that conversation. So, 7 wins won the division last year. So, and it's weird with the extra game, but I would guess 7 or 8 wins is good enough. And I think they're probably a little bit better than that if everybody's healthy. So. 9 and 8 at minimum, and then I could see them realistically maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think 8. I don't even think 9's going to win this division this year. I think this division's going to be better than that. I think this division, like, it went through some, like, whenever Washington wins a division, there's some problems going on in the division. Like, it just doesn't happen enough in the modern NFL.
Did those problems get fixed? Like, is Saquon Barkley good enough to make the Giants? Like,
yes,
he is.
He's one of. Is he not one of the best 3 running backs in the NFL?
He's a running back.
Okay, I get that, but their offense runs through him. And so everything else that they do comes off of them being able to do special things with him. So if they don't have him, I think it makes a difference for them. I really do.
I just don't believe in Daniel Jones, I guess.
I don't either. But I still think Saquon can be Saquon. And if he's Saquon, I think that's going to get him a few more wins. I think Washington got better offensively. I think their defense is among one of the best in the league. So again, I just think that overall, I think the division's going to be better than it was last year. I think last year was an anomaly. By the way, that's an anomaly across the league. You don't see divisions like that are that bad. As bad as the NFC East was last year, they don't stay that bad for a long time. Like, it's just, like you said, it's cyclical. And it also has something to do with the teams you're playing and and what's happening with those teams too. Like it's just
think about it like this too.
Like
in 2015, it was the same thing. It was really bad. Who wants to win this? I think Washington won it. Like to your point, everybody was down. But then in 2016, the Cowboys and the Giants were the two best teams. Then they both make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think it just has a way of kind of turning this up. I don't think they'll be great though. I still think
it's not going to be among the best divisions in the league, but I do think it's going to be around the middle, and I think it's going to be better than it was last year. I just think so.
I think the team that wins the division will be better. You know what? Like I don't think
the winner, not necessarily the whole division.
Right. I don't think we're going to see a team with a losing record win this division again. But I still, let's just hypothetically say the Cowboys win it at 10-7, which is a much better record than the team last year, but I don't think that means top to bottom. I just don't I think Philly's going to have to go through some stuff. I think
Philly's going to be the only team in my opinion that's not going to be better. I think the Cowboys will be better. I think Washington will be better, and I think New York will be better.
Yeah.
Just because they're getting players back, they have to be better than they were last year because they're getting key players back.
Did they get Galladay?
Yeah.
Galladay?
Yeah. No,
their offense could be
I want to say they picked up an offensive lineman. Is that right? Like a big-time offensive or somebody was coming back from injury.
Put me on the spot.
I can't remember right offhand.
They brought back Solder.
Their offensive lineman was
they cut Kevin Zeitler.
Was better.
Get back.
But either way, I do think they.
Yeah.
I do think that they're going to be better. I think the Giants will be better. How many games better? I'm not sure, but I think they'll be better. I think Washington will be better, and I think the Cowboys will be better.
I don't know, but I still think go down the list and tell me a division that is definitively worse, and maybe the only one that
we won't know till we get there.
That's also. Yeah. I mean, we're working based on what we know, and I know that's going to change. But on paper, right now, maybe the AFC South. But the AFC South has the Titans, who have back-to-back playoff trips. There's a lot to like about that team.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I do think I expect the Cowboys to win the division and get to the playoffs. I mean. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's what I expect.
I know we're up against it in time, but if you just went down the schedule, which is not a good thing to do because it's so early and it never plays out that way. But even if you're just right on that 50-50 optimistic but not a homer fan or anything like that, it's hard not to say 11-12 wins.
Yeah.
That's the schedule, really. I mean, you're
especially the early part of that schedule.
They should win. Yeah, they should win. But we know that sometimes they don't, and sometimes they'll sneak some of those losses into wins. So, we're just saying 9 out of 10 because of what we've seen. But the schedule if you look at it, you could easily go to 12. You could go to 12-5.
I don't like to say the number for that very reason. Just it's impossible to predict, but. They had a chance to win the division on the last day of the season with everything awful that happened.
Yes. And it was a lot of awful things.
And if we are right about even half of the stuff that they're getting, I'm sorry. If Dak, and I'm King Dak lover, if Dak's that good, they should win the division if he's healthy because the division's not that strong.
By the way, give me one of those tackles and Dak, I think they're a playoff contender. They are, they can be a really, really good team.
And I think it's a completely realistic expectation. I don't think it's realistic. They could win the Super Bowl. I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah.
I think it's realistic that they should be in the tournament if all these players are worth what we think they are.
And then if you get there, who knows what happens, right? Yeah.
To me, what realistic is that you can definitely argue both ways. I mean, you can easily see both ways playing out. Every year, I feel like, regardless of what happened the previous season, you come back with higher expectations or newer expectations, and again, you come back with excitement. But as we've seen in the past, sometimes it doesn't matter who the opponent is whatsoever. It does not matter who you are playing. The Cowboys sometimes end up just biting themselves in the butt and making their own mistakes, and then you end up losing a game that could have easily be won by the Cowboys, but they didn't because why? They're doing dumb stuff. Yeah. And that's the thing, that you know where they can be with the players that they have. You know that, man, this could be a really good team, but then you see certain things how they play out, and it doesn't matter who's in the schedule, and it ends up being not turning out as good as it should be. So I think that it could go either way, you just don't know.
I know I say it all the time, but I just love watching you just adapt to the misery that is being a fan of something. Like that's how it goes. It's not fun. It's fun 5% of the time.
Well, that's those anomaly years when your team gets all the way to a championship. Like that's when it actually you can sit back and just be like, man, it's good to be a fan today. But that doesn't happen very often.
Now you're just
and
pissing
you have
off
a wait
Cowboy
sometimes.
fans.
You have a wait sometimes, and it happens in any fan. By the way, no matter what team you're a fan of, you're probably going to go through those periods where it's going to seem like forever since you've been a champion, and so it's a part of it. It's just a part of fandom. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week. It'll be our final show before training camp. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!